I have faith in our iwi, our hapu. We are the solution to the problem. The clearer we see the problem, the sooner we'll find a solution, because our whānau, we can do as men.
We've got a big responsibility to hold it together. That's a spiritual responsibility as well, because it's a wairua thing as well. Because what our people out there see impacts them. When they see our whenua going out to sea, when they see their urupā and their marae getting smashed and flooded, it impacts every single one of us who whakapapa.
Climate change, extreme weather, and human impact are all major factors to the new environmental norm in Te Tai Rāwhiti. Mai ngā maunga ki ngā moana, ka apu haere. Our whenua is being devoured, our riverbanks consumed, our moana left with the aftermath. He apu whenua, he apu tangata. This series explores the why. I roto I tēnei hōtaka, ko whakapuakina ngā take o te taiao I te Tai Rāwhiti. From the pest control in the Raukumara Ranges to the erosion affecting our awa, along with the sediment/woody debris, extreme weather and heavy rainfall. Ko tā te wahanga whakamutunga, he whai I te hunga kāinga e mahi ana I roto I te taiao. E kimi nei, pēhea te whakatika. Mana taiao Tai Rāwhiti have been at the forefront of calling out the main offenders, but also trying to find new pathways forward.
Mana taiao Tai Rāwhiti is about land use change and dramatic, and we want that to happen through basically all of the plans that govern and regulate land use, water use and basically human activity in Te Tai Rāwhiti. Our membership is from the Waiapu all the way to Muriwai, and that's where our focus is for land use change. But we don't want it to just be us, the iwi should be where we are. All Māori landowners we should be all working under the same ethos, is to stop taking and start putting back. And that's the price we have to pay. You can still have industry, but it won't be mass. It won't be mass primary industry. As I said, we need to change from this industrial model to this more regenerative, socially responsible, social enterprise model, and it can be done.
Members of Mana taiao Tai Rāwhiti and Pēnu locals Tash Koia and Manukeri are looking at alternative ways to use the land. And they also live right next door to the pā, on Tash's whānau land at Tōtaranui. Kei muri te awa o Makatote e rere ana. Ka pāngia kinotia te awa I te wā ka waipuketia te whenua.
That's been, kamautuihi, real freaky to see new gullies and stuff formed just by over a couple of months, or even one big rainfall. I suppose for us as a block and parts, because we're small, just seeing what we can do on our small scale is, tū te ake te whenua nei, because we live here on the block and we see it.
Today we've got a bunch of, 3 plant scientists, ecologists, who look at ecosystems and think about the options for the land. There doesn't seem to be any sort of service that's available to access technical support and advice and things, so it's been just sort of calling on who we know to, and when they're available, to come and have a look and give some guidance on what the options are for the block. And if we can help sort of do little bits and pieces and see what works and what doesn't, then others won't have to waste time and money making the same mistakes.
I'm an ecologist, originally trained as a marine scientist but got concerned with sediment, and so interested in the whole catchment and working towards a healthy environment.
I specialise in trees for mitigation of erosion as well as restoration of not only forest ecosystems but wetland ecosystems.
I'm a trustee with Tānei's Tree Trust. I'm particularly involved with the Northern Tōtara Working Group, trying to help how to go about perhaps healing the land and getting more native forest cover woven into the landscape.
So one of the strategies, for example, is cutting the kānuka branches when it's seeding time and just laying them over the paddock and seeing how much of the seed takes and comes away because it provides a protection and things, and others dropping the seeds with seed bombs from drones and things, and others direct planting.
We're just looking for weeds that will sort of threaten the natural regeneration of the native species. So there's a mix of native here that's been browsed because it's quite a hardy species, but there's also things like the honeysuckle, and that can really dominate. And then because it's an early coloniser, it's shading the land, so you start to get the other native forest species coming up underneath, as long as they're not browsed off.
Having clear land on this particular block is not sustainable because it's eroding fairly rapidly. So the kānuka industry is one option, but karamu might be another, and fungi might be another, or, so sort of exploring those options.
So what about these forestry models, for example, that would be a continuous cover forestry model close to nature, so a forest structure where you would be harvesting, either single stems or small groups, and to avoid a clear fell type situation, but with opportunities to get cover and potentially some timber income and some increasing biodiversity values as well.
I think the owners would be open to that, but it'd need to be well proven in this environment. But
Preference would be for native foresting.
Yeah, and given the block's called Tōtara Nui, that's sort of the vision if tōtara could be found to grow here. So we've got a few that we're going to plant. But I think more would say if there's some jobs involved, that's more important to give whānau some reason to be close to the land again.
Renee Rāroa is a taiao researcher and a member of Mana Taiao Tai Rāwhiti. Kei te kautuku I rangitukia te whenua o tōna whānau. Her whānau have experienced first-hand the change in land use.
This is Te Kautuku, just over 900 hectares. We've kind of been able to see the land intergenerationally. So it was sheep and beef farming, but about, maybe 15 to 20 years ago, most of the stock were taken off. There's still some stock roaming about, but the aspiration really is to get majority of the whenua regenerated back to native cover.
In this whole area here, stretching from here right back, well, as far as the eye can see really, is reverting, which is why we've looked at there's got to be another alternative to pastoral farming on this sort of land. It's not viable. So we've struggled along, but now we've got to look at something else with the weather, the way it is. Erosion is getting worse, and so going into a biodiversity scheme is probably a better option.
But I guess out this way, this was all farmed, and then we've got plantings of poplar, various variety of poplar, just different stands for stabilisation, and then with the block over the back being Ngā Whenua Rāhui, I think just the natural dispersal of seeds that have come over have started to regenerate this area.
Yeah, well, what you've done is just taking the stock off. It's just allowed the kānuka to get going, and that's the important bit for the soil stabilisation.
Yeah.
But then you've got to move on to that next step of getting the biodiversity back.
Yes.
One option might be to explore whether those poplars can just remain and become that forest structure as a nurse for regenerating native forest, whether that's their function for the future.
And we always wondered, why doesn't native trees have something where we can get a return as far as carbon goes? Because that bush you can see there's about I don't know, 200, 300 odd acres of native bush that belongs to the station, Te Kautaku.
900 hectares is a lot of area to have without having some income from to help with the management of it. Are there opportunities there?
I guess that's the thing that we are looking to explore here at Te Kautaku is what data can be collected on the regeneration and can there be an assetisation of that data to create revenue streams. So that's kind of an area that Te Kautaku is wanting to explore, and we've got Te Kautaku as a first pilot looking at what that might look like. Yeah, and that's where the Mānuka honey has been really helpful. You know, you can start the regeneration and Mānuka can help with part of that. And then when there's been a downturn in the Mānuka season, you know, these guys have pivoted to queen bee rearing. So I suppose just being a bit flexible and looking for new ways to create income streams to work with the regeneration is what we're after. Yeah.
Yep, my dream now is for it all to go into biodiversity, providing, of course, there's some benefit not only to the land but to the landowners. Otherwise, we're going to just keep losing bits and pieces of it to the city out there.
He kaupapa nui te whakatipu rākau taketake I ngā whenua horo o te Tai Rāwhiti. Everyone agrees we need to do it, but the question is how and who pays for it?
Yeah, there's probably in the nursery trade what they call like your standard or staple native trees that people always buy for restoration projects, and so that'll be your mānukas, kānaka, karamu, koromiko, kohuhu, and then the bigger trees, tōtara, kākatia. The best thing to do is copy what Mother Nature does. So once, you know, farming hasn't paid and then our kānaka and mānuka spread across the landscape, that's our taiao saying, you know, follow me. It's no good trying to plant karamu and koromiko and stuff straight back onto bare hillsides. You're just setting yourself up for a huge amount of work and probably a big fail. So yeah, copy what our taiao shows us what to do. Another ray of light out there is our Ngāti Pro nursery that we're going to establish, and so you know, we've got a landscape that's in desperate need of millions and millions of trees, and so a nursery is a good start. I think we're looking at about 6 hectares or something, so that should be big enough to pump out hundreds of thousands of trees. Yeah, they'll be all native trees, and so we'll be able to employ locals to go around and collecting seeds from here. We want seeds that are from here, trees that are from here. They can handle the climate.
Kei waho atu o tūranga a Case Whitman e noho ana. He and his wife practice mosaic land use and have done so for the last 30 years. They run a forestry consulting business. Ko pōhiri atu rātou ki te hāpori kia hana atu ki tō rātou whenua.
Today is part of a national series that have been sponsored by Tūru Rākau, part of the Ministry for Primary Industries, to help landowners look at what the alternatives are to pine and to pasture. So really, yeah, really good timing.
First of all, the issue is incredibly important and incredibly depressing. And on the other hand, I would like to let you know that it is never too late to start planting a tree. 30 years ago, just after Bola, on the whole place, 33 hectares, there were 25 trees. And we've planted that, and it has held the erosion. And here you can see it, how it is in planted form. And then we started harvesting small scale in 2016, and we stopped harvesting in 2019. And this is now the regrowth. So in a very short time, you can make a difference. And it all starts with the soil. If you have good soil, you can grow demanding trees that need a deep, fertile soil. And if you have poor soils or eroding soils, then your types of trees that you can grow is minimized.
In terms of mana taiao Tai Rāwhiti, I guess we've had a lot to say about the problem of pine plantations on the east coast, and today was really about alternative species to pine. So a good opportunity to explore some of the options in a real world environment. Trees that have been growing for 20, 30 years, and quite a wide range of different species, both mostly exotic but also native as well.
Part of our problem on the East Coast, people have been too profit-driven, whereby what you see here is a more holistic approach to our environment. And we have forestry, we have tree farming, we have livestock, we have an hospitality venue, and we provide accommodation. But none of those aspects rule our budget. We want to do the things that are good for the land and for the people and the animals, and that is all related.
I was really interested to see some of the benefits and some of the risks of those different species for our environment here. And likewise on the block, I guess, where we live, Tōtaranui, the erosion and the efforts that we're making to curb that will require trees, and we've got quite a lot of natives on there. And I guess there's a question about which other species would be good to have, and even some of the natives, where are they best grown. I think it's really timely a day like today, given the issues that we're wrestling with across the region.
Ko te myrtle rust, tētahi riha e whakararu ana i a mātou. A fungal disease carried by the wind, and in the last 3 years, it's hit the coast hard. Te Whakapai Ururua is a hapu response initiative from both Te Whānau Apanui and Ngāti Pro to combat myrtle rust in Te Tai Rāwhiti.
We're really determined to study the behaviour and mitigate situations where we know it's more intense at different times of the year than it is in other times of the year, and what remedies we can use to either slow the rust or prevent the rust.
People that are interested in that component of the project, you're most welcome to give me your email to be a part of that conversation.
Yeah, I think our own people driving it is the way to go. We're the ones living here amongst what's going on in our communities.
We're capturing data of what the myrtle rust is doing to our ngahere, and without that data we can't feed the scientists, feed them with data to develop solutions. We're the foot soldiers, I suppose. So all the data that's collected will eventually create a picture that we can draw information from, comparisons.
So we are looking for rākau that are resistant to the myrtle rust. So an area like we're in now, well, for example, the ramarama here, and let's say, 90% of those ramarama have all got myrtle rust, but then you've got one really healthy ramarama right in the middle there. That one could be the tree that's resistant to the myrtle rust, so we could, on the ground, gather cuttings from that particular rākau, that tree, that individual, and then propagate them in a nursery so that we can replant that particular one back in the area so that there is some type of safeguarding.
Is that the only spot? Or is there a bit more? Yeah, it looks like we've found some land.
There's a little bit of hope being pinned on Rongoā Māori, because what we've noticed is that here in Tai Rāwhiti, especially on the east side, we literally have millions of kānaka on our hills around here, and no one's seen evidence of myrtle rust on the kānaka, and kānaka is a native myrtle. And so we're thinking that there's something in the kānaka that may be resistant to myrtle rust, or this strain of myrtle rust. And so at present we're doing spray trials to see if a kānaka hydrosol will be, or an oil efficacy at slowing or halting or killing the myrtle rust. So yeah, there's a little glimmer of hope out there.
Ko te kaunga o te wai, tētai take nui kua rā ki te Tai Rāwhiti. How do we restore and protect our awa from further build-up of settlement? No te ao Māori te momoaro tūruki wai, a Hoana Forester, Rāwa ko Horiata Reihania, o te Akau, o Tokomaru.
So our kaupapa at the moment, through Arahanga Taiao, is a pathway back to restoring the mana of the wai. we wanted to empower our people to be part of the decision-making process, because we've seen a lot of people coming in from out of our region and making decisions that affect our hapori, our community, without involving us. And it's all stuff that we feel we could actually do, the information and that they're gathering. And nobody knows the state that they're in at the moment. So that's what prompted our rōpū to find out why or how or what's going on with the awa, because if you don't know the state it's in at the moment, it's hard to fix something that you don't know if it needs fixing or how well it's doing. Are our taonga species in there still, or things like that.
At the moment, our team is working with observations of our taiao, which is quite interesting, eh?
Yes, it's a tool that we've lost. Some people have retained that knowledge in other areas, and it's a tool that our tūpuna would have used every single day of their lives.
What is the tool?
So the tool is around reading your environment and noticing those changes within your taiao and linking them to, for example, the marama taka and the moon phases, mata o te marama taka.
Pehea te ahu o te wai kia korua. He pai te ahu o te wai? Rocky.
Ha atu. Paru-paru. He paru-paru. Within our team, we each will observe a variety of things. It can be the activity of the birds, it could be presence of insects, it could be the types of clouds, high cloud, low cloud. They're moving south, east, they're heavy, they're dense, there's a breeze below, but there's no clouds at the top. The dew on the grass, the kōwhai trees blossomed, even the sound of the waves crashing. So if we don't see it, it didn't happen. Well, that's what our observations are. So eventually we'll gather each other's observations, because we live in a variety of regions, that they could actually be helpful to show indicators of what's happening at that time.
So you build up a picture throughout the year, and then as time goes on, you've got reference points to reference back. So in this marama taka, at this mata, the river was doing this, or the birds are doing this, the trees are changing.
Yeah, we're trying to find out how Mātauranga Māori tools will work coincided with science, because we will be doing a lot of water monitoring. Hopefully we'll be able to include the community in that process.
So for our project, what success looks like to us is our nannies and their mokopunas going down to the awa and the takiwa and being able to gather relevant information that can contribute to the decision-making processes of the community.
And for us to be able to restore a small piece for a bit of hope might be
for us,
these ones.
For us, it's what's our awa going to be like for this one. This is our mokopuna, you know.
Koera te tūmanako. When you're faced day to day with the impact of climate change, he mea nui te tūmanako, waihoki he mea nui te mahitahi. Rōpū like Raukumara Paimaunga and Te Whakapaururua are focusing on educating our community about the taiao changes and impacts, and that includes our tamariki.
Okay, and then name me 2 pests that run into the ink tunnel.
What we really hope to achieve throughout the roadshow is to engage with our tamariki Ngāti Porou wide, to educate them, to provide advocacy for the raukumara, and also to connect with other projects within Ngāti Porou who are doing incredible work in their own spaces of taiao restoration, and to bring our mahi to the children, because at the end of the day, everything that we are doing within our taiao mahi is for the coming generations.
Cool. And so we measure the length and the weight, we can usually get an approximate age growth of a tuna.
Put it in their heads, you know, when they learn all their different things in STEM, technology, all those, everything that they learn in kura, maybe something will spark them to create some solutions, or even follow in a career path of the aerial culling or the monitoring crew and stuff like that. So they're all going to just be part of the solution.
She's the only woman in the whole of New Zealand who has the qualifications that she has to aerial cull deer, and she's the only Māori woman in the whole of the world.
I just think it relates perfectly to the solutions episode and the fact that it's a succession planning, getting this next generation of young people who are going to grow up caring about, you know, what we have around us, you know, because if we don't care for it, nobody else will, and that's it. That's the cold, hard truth.
Beautiful. And why are they fencing? What are they trying to protect?
It's my dog.
From the beginning of the Waiapu series, what you saw was a lot of the damage, and we've been through it. In the Tai Rāwhiti region, we have really been through it. It's really impacted our climate here significantly. Out of that have come a whole lot of people who are super, super motivated to see some change in terms of the way we use our land, to see some real prioritisation of our environment. And I think that this movement, this roadshow, has really brought those people to the fore, and it's united them and said, we know what's happening in our region. We know that we're in big trouble, but we also know that if anyone's going to drive the solution to that problem, it's going to be us. It's going to be those of us on the ground, those of us who live here, and those of us who are motivated beyond all else to see a better Tai Rāwhiti in the future than what we've inherited.
Tika tāhau ārio, best people to help us are ourselves. Mā tātou, mō tātou. Ka taupokina tēnei hōtaka o Waiapu ki konei. Heoi, ka haere tonu ngā mahi a te ahi kā e ora i te taiao mā tātou tamariki, a tātou mokopuna hoki. Hui te marama, he purapura ora.